Welcome to this week's edition of Trump Trolls Trump, the show where one Trump trolls other people who happen to have the same last name. I will leave it to you to decide who is whom in that scenario. It's me. I'm doing the trolling. Yes, it's day 4. No, it's not. It's week. It's day 5,722,678 days into the new Trump regime. Holy shit, my brain fried. All right. So Donald has repeatedly stated, like practically since the inauguration, that he wants Canada, an independent nation and our former ally, to become the 51st state of the United States of America. Why, ask you? Nobody knows. He's insane. He said it again yesterday at a press conference in the Oval Office. Let's take a look.
And Canada is just absolutely, I say it, and sometimes people smile and sometimes they say, great idea, but Canada, their taxes would come down greatly, their security would go up greatly. Amazing things happen to Canada. And really, Canada in this particular, why would we pay $200 billion a year in subsidies to Canada when they're not a state? You do that for a state, but you don't do that for somebody else's country. So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
Yes, that was a real reaction from the White House press corps at the Oval Office. Actually, no, it was not, although it should be. In Brussels, Belgium this week, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was asked what kind of chance Donald's proposal might have. Watch this.
I've said unequivocally from the beginning, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that Canada will ever be the 51st state.
I cannot tell you how offensive it is to me that a reporter actually asked that question as if Donald's proposal has any basis in reality at all. It's literally something he made up because see aforementioned use of the word insane. All this is going to do is antagonize one of our closest allies and increase the possibilities. At this rate, it's looking like probabilities that Canada is going to meet us point for point with tariffs. In other words, the trade war we're about to be in because of Donald's reckless application of tariffs on many, many Canadian goods that this country actually needs will skyrocket, which of course will increase the cost of American goods to American consumers and also importantly undermine one of our greatest allyships in history. So it also just there does it matter that it doesn't make sense because he never makes sense? Well, it matters because there are people in the world or in the country anyway who actually believe what he says, and the people surrounding him, even though they know he's out of his fucking mind, are going to do anything he wants them to do in order to appease him. Because he really is like Billy Mummy in that Twilight Zone episode, wishing people out into the cornfield who don't do his bidding. And you really should watch that episode. It is instructive. There's also just this whole idea, this false premise that Canada is like a welfare state and America is always bailing Canada out. That is completely untrue. Completely untrue. Again, Canada provides us essential goods that we need and vice versa. It's how it works. It's how trade works. There have been treaties signed to make sure that it's done in an appropriate manner. And even though the idea that Canada would become our 51st state is completely beyond the pale and something, as Trudeau said, will never happen, there is a snowball's chance in hell that will happen. If Canada theoretically were to become our 51st state, it would be like the biggest blue state in the country. So maybe it's not such a terrible idea after all, except I love Canada and I want Canada to maintain its sovereignty at all costs. Okay, before we go any further, please take a second to like and share this video. And if you have not already, please subscribe to our channel. After you subscribe, just click that bell and you will be alerted every time new videos drop. So, a lot of deals are done with a handshake, right? That's a truism. And on Monday, the Egyptian foreign minister met with alleged Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Washington. During the press conference they had, the pair took no questions, left the room very awkwardly after what I think should henceforward be known as the Rubio handshake. Check this out.
Mr. Sec, Miss, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Secretary, how can you own Gaza by the U.S. with so much opposition from Saudi Arabia?
Aw, poor little guy. Who got the rose? Anyway, I know this is a deep cut, but clearly Marco Rubio shakes hands like he drinks out of water bottles. I don't know. I don't know if they just literally have no chemistry and could not figure out how to touch each other without, like, I don't know, catching something, or I think this is it. I think Rubio probably said, "Hey, it'd be really cool if we went out there and we did a secret handshake," and they just didn't practice enough. That's what I'm going with. All right, so some serious stuff happening. Another pressing issue for the new administration is magnets, which is refreshing because it's usually water pressure and shower heads. So, what do magnets do? How do they work? If only we had these things called physicists who study something called physics, who could explain the mysteries of magnetism to us. But let's listen to Donald, because he has a new theory of magnetic attraction, and I think it's going to rewrite the science books. The magnet theory. Take a look.
And instead of using hydraulic, like on tractors that can handle anything from hurricanes to lightning to anything, they use magnets. It's a new theory. Magnets are going to lift the planes up, and it doesn't work. And they had billions and billions of dollars of cost overruns. I met the architect. I said, "Have you designed a ship before? This is one of the biggest ships in the world. It's like landing at LaGuardia Airport." But you look at the kind of waste, fraud, and abuse that this country is going through, and we have to straighten it out.
Ooh, he has a new tagline. Um, wow. Yes, it's a new thing, those magnets. I don't know. When it comes to planes, I kind of prefer the Bernoulli principle. I don't want big magnets. What? Like keeping plane? What is this? Okay. And so there's a very big ship landing at LaGuardia Airport. That's an odd use of LaGuardia Airport. So as usual, he has no idea what he is talking about. But he certainly sounded in command of the material. I have to grant him that. So, if magnet theory is a little too complex for the rest of us and we can't quite follow Donald's brilliant reasoning on the topic, you have to keep in mind, as we've been told repeatedly by the right-wing media ecosphere, Donald is an outside the box thinker. I still haven't figured out which box they're talking about, but I'm going to take them at their word, I guess. He's also, and this is according to him, so it must be true, a great quote unquote weaver. In this next clip, he explains to Bret Baier at Fox his brilliant art, his brilliant conversational art of weaving.
But they have other problems. And let's go back over there, because I'm the weaver. I'm the great weaver. You know that.
Trust
right?
me.
Okay? I'm the great
I get
weaver.
it.
Somebody said, "Oh, he rambled." No. Only the fake news says that. To weave, you have to be brilliant. To ramble, you don't have to be brilliant.
back in the weave.
But I like the weave because it covers a lot of territory and it covers it much more quickly.
I like the weave because it covers up the fact, at least I think it covers up the fact that I'm a complete moron who doesn't know what I'm talking about and think that I'm actually being coherent, but I'm making no sense at all. The weave is a synonym for babbling, rambling incoherently. I could go on, but you get the point. I I wonder why more people don't look, because he says this kind of I'm the smartest, I'm brilliant, I'm great at this. It is so embarrassing. Like if you had somebody in your life that talked to you like that all the time, you would lose their number, right? You would buy an invisibility cloak to put on anytime they came within your vicinity. So the weave is not some kind of brilliant stream of consciousness connecting of the dots. Well, it is, I guess, in his head. It is just yet another indication that he's lost it completely. And he's completely unaware of this. So the new administration is about big concepts, like totally dismantling the federal government, um, completely turning the DOJ into a bunch of brown shirts there to do Donald's bidding, that kind of big thing. But this next thing is so big that it's got to be bigger than this. Well, I don't know. I don't necessarily think the Super Bowl is big, but other people do. So let's go with that analogy. All right. So when you for those of you who have kids, when you to build up their self-esteem, you praise them and you applaud them when they complete, age appropriately tasks that are challenging for them. It could be tying their shoes or putting their dishes in the sink, stuff like that. And, the older they get, the more complex tasks get, right? You're not going to compliment them on tying their shoes when they're 14, for example. So in the next video, where am I going with this, you ask? We're going to see how the crowd treats a small child with a map as if he's done something notable and that they're there to pretend that there's some meaning here in order to prop him up and make him feel good about himself. Watch this.
This is a proclamation declaring today, February 9th, 2025, as the first ever Gulf of America Day.
We're flying right over it right now. So we thought this would be appropriate. Even bigger than the Super Bowl. This is a big thing. And almost everybody now has assented to that.
Attention on board. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please direct your attention out the right side of the aircraft. Air Force One is currently in international waters for the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America. Please enjoy the flight, and we are now about to head westbound to Super Bowl 59.
Wow, he did that well. Isn't that nice? We're about Make America Great Again, right? That's what we care about.
Yeah, so while flying over an invisible body of water, that happened. Again, I'm so embarrassed, but as should we all be. But forget and I apologize. I actually thought it was going to be like a 6-year-old. I did not realize that was going to be a video of Donald. Sorry. But honestly, a 6-year-old is way too mature to fall for this bullshit. The fact that he thinks that this is a good use of his time, again, shouldn't surprise us anymore because he's deranged, right? He's deranged. Think about all the people involved in that effort, from the pilot to the person handing him the executive order that he got to sign with his stupid Sharpie, to the people surrounding him, to the people making the map, the people making sure that the plane flew over the Gulf of Mexico. So this insipid little thug could have his moment of glory and actually believe that he's accomplished something. When, as usual, as always, he's accomplished nothing except wasting our time and our money. Earlier this week, speaking of children, fledgling dictator Elon Musk held a press conference in the Oval Office, which is a statement in and of itself. Musk admitted that his statement, he had earlier said that $50 million worth of condoms went to Gaza to build bombs. And of course, Donald repeated that. Um, and everybody on the right propped up that insane bit of untruth. And he said, yeah, that was incorrect. It was incorrect. That's all he said. But it's not that innocent, right? Yes, we all make mistakes. I'm actually shocked he admitted he could be incorrect. That's something Donald would never do. But Elon Musk is psychologically disordered in a somewhat different way from Donald Trump. This is disinformation that actually causes real world harm because, again, there are tens of millions of Americans who believe this shit and it causes them to be more hateful towards people who do not deserve their hate and in many cases deserve our support. So watch the effect that the lies told over a lifetime have on one hapless child. Although hapless may be too kind of word, but I'll fix that later. Who in one single interview floats very dramatically between two numbers to bolster his argument, which is completely fallacious and nonsensical. It's a little sad, so prepare yourself. Here we go.
When Elon and my father go in there and they want to audit the IRS, when they want to audit USAID, who is spending $100 million to send condoms to Gaza, let alone running shrimp on treadmill and all the other ridiculous things, the Democrats go crazy. I'm a business guy. I understand this world very, very well. I want them to follow that money, right? Because it's more than, again, the shrimp dancing on the treadmill. It's more than the $50 million for the condoms to Gaza. $100 million. I'm a business guy. I understand this world very, very well.
He understands the business of large scale sales of condoms. Okay, then. Yeah, that's an adult, believe it or not, who by virtue of his proximity to the idiot in the Oval Office actually gets to talk publicly, I should say. I don't know if you remember this, but the first time Donald told that lie, he said $50 million. The next time he told the lie, he said $100 million. So but it was spread apart. So people probably didn't remember. But that's what he does. He gets more and more hyperbolic to make the thing he's trying to sell sound worse and worse and worse. Eric did it within the scope of a single interview, which, that is not a good weave, Eric. You might want to sit down with your dad and get some more tips, but I have a feeling he can't stand to be in the same room with you. Might be the only thing I understand. Also, one thing we have to make common cause. No, we don't. Sorry, we never have to make common cause. However, if somebody tells the truth, I think it's important to highlight that. I too am vehemently opposed to putting dancing trip on treadmills. I think it's cruel. Unless the treadmills are underwater and they like it, in which case, knock your socks off, shrimp. Remember Mike Pence, the guy Donald Trump tried to get hanged when he was Donald's vice president during the first Trump administration? I know nobody gives a shit about what happened to Mike Pence, but there's a question here. Did JD Vance actually think that he would escape Pence's fate. And this is the thing, like, people who support Donald remind me of people who smoke. People who smoke and continue smoking, knowing everything we know about smoking, convince themselves, I'm not going to get sick. Same thing. People who are loyal to Donald, they sell their souls for that piece of garbage. They think if they keep chipping away at their souls and their humanity and their sense of human decency, and they basically turn themselves into these sycophantic doormats, he will never turn on them. It did not work out well for Mike Pence. It did not work out well for anybody practically who worked in the first Trump administration. JD Vance is completely delusional if he thinks that he will escape that fate. But the secret is out. This is Donald giving his opinion about whether or not JD Vance, who is his vice president and technically should be his successor, will be his successor.
Do you view Vice President JD Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No, but he's very capable. I mean, I don't think that I think you have a lot of very capable people. So far, I think he's doing a fantastic job.
At what? He's doing such a good job that he will never be my successor. My favorite thing about that is how it took not even a nanosecond for Donald to say no, and he said it like it was a 20-syllable word. No. But it is not because Donald has another successor in mind. It's because the Donald is a nihilist, and he actually does not believe anything can exist beyond him, which should, yes, scare us very deeply. Okay? But he thinks that he's just going to live forever and be in the Oval Office forever. So there's no need for a successor because, I mean, he can't imagine the fact that he's going to die, but somewhere in the back of his very tiny brain, he believes that when he dies, everything's over. Fun times. A brand new Republican-led task force was announced on Wednesday designed to investigate and release important documents related to such topics as high-profile assassinations, the existence of extraterrestrials. Sorry, that is so not my thing. No offense. September 11th attacks, the origins of COVID, the prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein, his client list, and much, much more. The task force is called the Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets and accounts among its members representatives Lauren Boebert, Eric Burlinson, Brandon Gill, and Nancy Mace, among others, which gives away the game, doesn't it? Like initially on its face, that sounds like, oh, those are things that we should know more about. But considering who's looking into all of it, this is not going to bode well. The very first investigation will be focused on the JFK assassination, and I think this is a reasonable thing to do. They're bringing in all of the deceased members of the Warren Commission to testify in front of Congress. I don't want to be in the room when that happens, but I think it's reasonable. Here's James Comer to explain it to us.
Today is a great day for transparency in America because today I'm proud to announce the creation of the Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets. This task force will be a part of the House Oversight Committee and led by the very talented and persistent Congresswoman from Florida, Anna Paulina Luna.
It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets. Our first investigation will be announced, but it's going to be covering on a thorough investigation into the John F. Kennedy assassination.
What sort of witnesses will you expect to have at your hearings? I know you said the first one's in March. Would that be department heads, former employees of various agencies?
Would you like to jump in? Yeah, I was going to say, based on what we're actually looking to do with the JFK investigation, I'm looking to actually bring in some of the attending physicians at the initial assassination, and then also people that had been on the various commissions looking into, like the Warren Commission looking into the initial assassinations.
Totally. Comer left out an adjective to describe Luna, and that is unhinged. These people know nothing about history, obviously, which should alarm us. But but I would rather have them waste their time. Seriously, like they might actually spend time trying to track these people down. I mean, hopefully they won't like start robbing graves or anything, but at least it'll keep them from getting us into more trouble. So I wish them well. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching this edition of Trump Trolls Trump. Please share this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And I want to close this week with a few words from fledgling dictator Elon Musk's son, Little X, which is not something you should ever name your children. Please. This was in the Oval Office during the Oval Office presser when the poor child had a few parting words for Donald. Watch this.
I'll ask Elon Musk to say a few words, and we'll take some questions. Elon, go ahead.
Sure. So at a high level, if you say what is the goal of Doge and I think a significant part of the presidency is to restore democracy.
How do we know for sure that that's actually what the child said? Look at Donald's face. And yeah, wholeheartedly agree. Donald, you have to go away. Please. Fucking loser.